tonight. Reverend Felicia Parazaider. She's a minister, a visionary. She has a revival she is the author and the creator of the Revolution of Love. And she's going to tell us how she created that and how that came to be, and a little bit more about herself. But please give a warm, warm welcome to Reverend Felicia.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Wonderful to be here. Let me just put this aside. Little housekeeping. You all have sunglasses? Okay, so make sure you want a pair of sunglasses to be very cool. No, and then also a purple sheet of paper that says Revolution of Love for Element Pathway to Love. Hopefully you all have those. Yes? Yes, okay. So it's wonderful to be here, everybody. How are you? It's Wednesday Wisdom, and it's my first time. So we are going to create a revolution of love tonight. That sound great? So, basically, what is this? What is a revolution of love? Like, it's basically changing the world, but whatever. So we've got 40 minutes to change the world. No big whoop. Okay, whatever. So, but here's the thing. We have to be clear. We have to be laser-like in focus and intentional when we're talking about a revolution of love. I mean, what does that mean, really? And I love what you were speaking to, Reverend Judy, as far as love. What kind of love are we talking about? So I'm going to get to that in a minute. First, I would just like to tell you a little bit about myself, because I am new to you and you're new to me. And I would like to share a little bit about how I got called to ministry. Sound good? A little bit closer? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, yeah, that sounds really nice. Okay. So I was born in Hollywood, California in the 70s. And I was raised up in the San Fernando Valley. And I was coming of age in the 80s with this interesting thing. Here's the deal. My family was from the Midwest. And my father had this idea to put together a rock and roll band by the name of Chicago. So this is how I was raised up, was in the music business. But the wild part is that my family was very, very salt of the earth. So they had these incredible principles and values. And so I was living in this really interesting existence that was quite split of the hedonism of the music business, and then these fantastic principles and values, salt of the earth. Do you get it? So this was my life. So where I took refuge, where I took solace, three things. Number one, I had this very mystical connection with spirit. From a very young age, I used to go outside, and as early as I could read, I would read the Psalms, and then I began to sing them just to melodies that I would make up. And I would do this in private. I would do this quietly by myself. So that was one thing. And the second thing was I was a classical pianist. I was sharing this with some of you before we had service tonight. And so I had this intense love for classical music. And then the third thing was the 60s. I had gotten into my father's LPs. And everything from, and some of you might know this might bring you back, the Electric Prunes, Captain Beefheart, Janis Joplin, the other one was Mothers of Invention, Frank Zappa, right? Okay. So, but something really significant happened and my whole life changed when I found the music of Jimi Hendrix. Are you experienced? That was it. I mean, my mind was blown. And it wasn't just the music, my friends. It was everything. It was all of the passion. It was the counterculture movement. It was the women's movement. It was the civil rights movement. I mean, what did I have? I had the 80s. Everything was so formulaic. I was part of a lost generation. So I appropriated the 60s. I did. And I loved it. It was great. So this is how life went. And then 14 happened. And then life happened. And the struggles happened. You know, the struggles happened for all of us. And so the struggle of loneliness, the struggle of feeling disconnected from God, the struggle of addictions, you name it, I've probably done it. And life happened, and it was really hard. And there was an experience that I had of suffering and of sadness and of violence that challenged me to my core. Now, here's the thing. I am sharing this with you tonight not to go down memory lane because I haven't integrated it or I need to process it with all of you. That is not why. I am sharing this with you because it is truly my experience of violence and of suffering and my subsequent resurrection from it and the forgiveness and the freedom that brought me back to love. That brought me back to love. You all have a story, don't you? You have all had struggles. It might not be exactly like my story, but you have all experienced loneliness, haven't you? You might be experiencing it now. I don't know. You have all experienced maybe struggles with addictions, struggles with feeling disconnected from God. So we have all had a shared suffering, but we've all shared love too, haven't we? So it becomes our great work that when we realize, okay, we have this story, and we've had these sufferings, and we've had these struggles, and we have each experienced violence in some way or another, that we can reckon with it, and we can reconcile that, and we can integrate it into these sacred wounds. And that is when we begin to return to hope, return to love, and this is when it gets good. Are you ready? This is the beginning. This is the beginning, the percolations of a revolution of love. This is when we start coming back to wonder. We start remembering, oh my gosh, there are things in this life that are worth believing in. And like I said, this is the beginning of a revolution of love. So it does begin. It begins with us, doesn't it? It begins with each one of you as you showed up tonight and said yes to being here. I mean, let's face the facts, folks. If you're here on a Wednesday wisdom service, you're dedicated. This isn't a Sunday. This isn't Easter. This isn't the high holidays. This is Wednesday. You could be doing anything, but you're here in this seat. So bless you for that. So let's create a revolution, shall we? Okay. So first, I'm going to throw some words out, and I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear some things from you. When I say revolution, what do you think of? Number nine. That was a record I found. Some more. Change, fighting. Others? Violence. George Washington. I heard another one. Someone over here? I didn't. Radical change. Okay. Okay, so that's revolution. We'll put those over here. Okay, now let's do love. When I say love, what do you think of? Oneness, tender, and I should say maybe what do you feel? Think and feel. So oneness, tenderness, connection, affection. That's good. I'm glad you said that. Affection. Family. Any other? Now. I like that. So love, okay, so here, feel this now. Revolution is very different in frequency Love is a totally different frequency. And someone said affection. So then we go, okay, so there's a lot of different kinds of love. There's eros, there's philia. Eros is more of the affection, right? And all of that good stuff that gets stirred up. Are we talking about that kind of love of a revolution? That's kind of a whole nother ministry. That's not the that's not the ministry that we're thinking of right now. And then there's philia, which is brotherly, but really what to hone in and again be intentional, we are honing in on agape love, unconditional love. You spoke to that. So revolution, it's radical, yes. It's a radical shift in bringing and ushering in the highest form of love, the highest frequency of love. I mean, we are talking, I said this once, non-GMO, gluten-free, organic love. You feel it? This is the big stuff. This is the big guns. Ooh, maybe I shouldn't say guns. It's the big stuff. We'll leave it there. So, revolution of love. Revolution of love. When I first began this thing, and when I launched it out in the world, you know, they always say have a 15-second pitch so you can describe it to people. So this is something that I came up with. The Revolution of Love is a multi-faith, multicultural, multi-generational spiritual ministry, and it's a movement that's spreading across the country. That just really sounds to me, I mean, honestly, there's no passion in that. It's dry as like Melba toast. There's nothing in it. It's a truism on paper that might work very well, but it's so much more than that. So let's continue with this calling out and seed into, imagine like a big gourd. Like there's a big gourd in front of you, in front of us, and let's seed into this further. So I'll start us off. And what we'll do is we're going to speak to what we think of when we think revolution of love, after defining it a little bit. So the revolution of love, it's a vision for our children. For our children. The revolution of love it's a vision for a better life. The revolution of love is a vision for a planet that is healing. And now you, please speak them out, whatever comes to mind. The revolution of love is inclusive. Thank you. No fear. Something else? Freedom. Forgiveness. Others. Unity. Connecting with all creation. Truth. Coming home. Someone said something. Health. The revolution of love is health. Some more. We can fill it out even more. Bless you. Tolerance. Tolerance. Illumination. Illuminational. Inspirational. Transformational. Transcendent. Yes. Let's actually say a nice big ashe. 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 So we could actually keep going probably for some time with this and keep, like I said, envisioning, you know, we're seeding into this gourd and we're mixing it together real nice. Do you feel it? Yes. So with this expansive energy, we have to think about, because this is wisdom, this is a Wednesday wisdom service, one thing that comes to mind is the expansive energy needs to be tamed. And it needs to be grounded and needs to be honed. Because with all of this, we must have a plan of action. Because this is very visionary. We're being visionaries right now. Each one of us, we're being visionaries, creators, manifestors. So it is critical to harness this down and go, okay, well, what do we do with that? Because it all sounds wonderful and it feels really great. It feels very buoyant. But we must have a plan of action, and we must be very wise, and we must have mastery. So we're going to become masters. And why this matters, let me just, in every talk you give, you're supposed to say the why. So let me just say it now, and I'll say it at the end too. Why this matters is everything you just seeded into this gourd, all of those amazing things, and we are living in an extraordinary time. We are living in a time where the planet is crying out for change, and where our children are counting on us, and our ancestors are, I believe, looking upon us, saying, come on now, you've been doing, all of you are doing this work, but we can even do more, can't we? We can raise it up. We can rise up in love, rise for love, and rise with love. Yes? Yes. So that's part of why it matters. Only an infinitesimal part. So tonight, this plan of action is about a 4-element pathway to love. This is how we can literally practice and create a revolution of love every day in our lives. And that does change the world, make no mistake about it. So there's something that I call this the 4-element pathway, and it's been sort of merging and changing over time. It's a teaching that I got basically November of 2013. Would you like to hear the backstory about how this kind of came to be? Okay, I'll share it with you really quick. So I was at a Barnes & Noble. It's so funny how I have these incredibly spiritual, powerful experiences in the most random places. I'm in a Barnes & Noble, right? I meet this man, and we're talking, and somehow he asks me, would you ever do a marriage, a same-sex marriage? Would you ever officiate that? I said, yes, I have. Of course I would. And he was very flustered by this. He did not like this. Things could have really gotten off track quite quickly. And sometimes I would have just left the conversation, but something pulled at my soul. There was a tug. And I went, I'm supposed to stay. And I'm supposed to talk with him. And what came out of this potential conflict was incredible, because he began to tell me about his life. He began to say things that had nothing to do with gay marriage. He shared his soul with me. We connected in the middle of this busy bookstore. And by the time we left, he hugged me and he said, you're pretty cool, Rev. You're not bad. And I'm like, well, okay, thank you. You're pretty cool yourself. I went home and I wrote down what you have on those purple sheets, what we will be going over. And you don't really need to necessarily look. If you want to take notes or something, you can, but maybe it's just about the experience tonight. So this is the teaching that came from it. And so I would like to just read the elements. I'll say them out loud, and then we're going to break them down one by one. Sound great? Number 1, this first element is remember who you are. Remember who you are. I know this is so basic, and it's so simple, and it's so hard. It is so hard. This is the first element to the pathway to love. The second element is remember who someone is to you. Remember who someone is to you. And the third element is remember radical compassion. Not just any old compassion, radical compassion. And then the fourth element, the final countdown. This is the big one. Engage the soul. Engage the soul. Okay, so let's just jump right into the first element. And let's see, is everybody going to have a partner to, yes, you'll just be turning, okay, we'll do that in a moment. So the first element, remember who you are. There's people tuning in actually too, I think live streaming, so they know this story if they've been following me, and you'll get to know it right now. About, let's see, it was when I was 28 years old, there was an experience I had at Carl's Jr. Again, here we go with these powerful spiritual moments. So I'm at Carl's Jr., it's my birthday, it's 3 a.m. and I want some jalapeno poppers or something, I don't know. So I order the food, right? I come round, go to pay the woman, and there's a man. And he says to me, I was a chain smoker at the time, I'm sorry to say. He says to me, do you have another cigarette? And I look up at him and say, oh, yeah, no, I don't. I'm sorry. They're at the house. Sorry. And he goes, do you want to get high? Why would he ask me that? And I went, no, I'm clean and sober, actually. And I was flustered, nervous. And he looks at me and he goes, this is killing me. This is killing me. Silence. Goes on. I used to be somebody, you know. He'd forgotten who he was. He had forgotten his essence. He had forgotten his brilliance. Tonight, do you remember who you are? Do you know? Do you know, like you know your name as you're sitting here? Do you just know? Do you remember? Yes. One of the ways, and there's so many ways to answer that question, but one of the ways I answer it is this, that you are made in the image of God. Imago Dei. It's the good stuff. You are made in the image of God, or another way of saying it is that you are made in pure love. You are made in pure love. And again, it's not just any old love, folks. It's the non-GMO kind. It's the gluten-free kind. It's the upper echelon. You are made in this pure love. This is your essence. It doesn't matter what circumstance, what tragedy, what kind of suffering has fallen before you. There is a part in each one of us as we are in Holy Communion right now. This is the truism. This is the truth for us. Do you know it? Do you know it like you know your name? Because when we know this, the reason this is critical, think about if everybody was coming from this place. There wouldn't be any war. There wouldn't be violence. There wouldn't be all the forms of violence, the poverty, the racism, the Islamophobia, the homophobia, on and on and on. There would be oneness. We would just know. Do you feel this? The first element is remember who you are. And you are love. You are made in pure love. And so this is like, the one thing I say about this is that, do you remember the American Express that ad long time ago, that don't leave home without it, right? So this is your American Express, your Amex card. You don't leave home without this. This is just constantly running. And any time there's a sort of where you fall maybe a little bit out of alignment, you come right back into it. This is a practice over and over and over again. First element, remember who you are. Now we're going to take a step. So let's take a step. Boom, boom. Second element, remember who someone is to you. Remember who someone is to you. Does anybody remember not long ago, a couple weeks back, there was a situation on United Airlines flight with David Dow? Okay. So it was terrible. I mean, this is a man that was brutalized and dragged off of a plane. Something happened on social media less than 24 hours later that I saw, and I do a lot of social media for the ministry. So I'm on there and I'm scrolling through the news feed, and I see this. A man with a baton or a bat going down a plane aisle, and it says, "This is why I fly Southwest." And then another one came through, and people are laughing. They're sharing this, and they're thinking this is funny. The other one was a meme or a video rather shared of the Airplane movie, where the woman is getting slapped, and it says United Airlines training video. People thought this was really funny. And so I said, there's nothing funny about laughing at someone's suffering. Would David and his friends and his family find this funny? I don't think they would find it funny. Remember who someone is to you. We are together in this. Like it or not, we are together in this. We are even together with the Islamophobes. We are even together with the homophobes. We are even together with the fill in the blank. Even these people that it was making me angry on Facebook, I'm together with them. We are connected. I don't get to choose who to love. I just get to love. Do you feel it? Yes. We must remember who we are to one another. One of the reasons I love ministry so much is because really, I mean, it's about connecting, but also I just get to see people. I get to see them and hear them and tell them that they matter. That's one of the ways that we can continuously remember who they are. Remember. This is the part now where I would like you to find someone to turn to. So if you could just turn, if you're sitting single, if you could just maybe like turn around and you're going to find someone to work with, or if there's a three people right here. Yes. So you're going to please, and if we don't need to talk or anything, let's try and maintain silence through this. We're just going to do this for a moment. It would be good to actually not have the sunglasses on. There's a reason. There's a reason. We're going to challenge ourselves. I know it gets a little strange. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to invite you to gaze at the person, and you don't have to stare into their eyes, but just gaze. Just look at them. And what you're doing is you're witnessing this person right now. And that's a lovely tune, actually. So now recognize this as you're remembering who they are, that the person that you are looking at, this person has experienced a tremendous amount of beauty and of joy and of love in their life. They've experienced this. Isn't that beautiful? And now also, as you're witnessing them, that person, they have also experienced sadness. And they've experienced loss. And there's been suffering that maybe nobody knows but them. And so as you're seeing them, my friends, as you are seeing them, make no mistake about it, this might be the first time they have really been seen and remembered in a long time. And when you're ready, just nod in appreciation and in love, and you can turn back. Come back to center. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so remembering who you are is the first one. And what is the second? Yes, remembering who someone is to you. And the tagline for that would be that we are together. We don't get to choose who to love. We just love. We just love. We just do this thing. Okay, the third element now, let me go up my little path. It's okay. Remembering who I am, remembering who someone is to me, and now the third, remembering radical compassion. Okay, now the sunglasses. Okay, everybody get your sunglasses on now. Now, what has just happened, it's hard to see you all. What has just happened is that we have not put on any old pair of sunglasses. These are holy frames. These are God goggles. What we recognize, I know, these are the things I think of at 3 a.m. Ooh, that's a good sermon thing. These are God goggles. I was at a cafe not long ago, just I guess over the weekend, and I started talking to this woman who's a boomer. She protested in Vietnam. And I said, you know, is there anything different about right now, this moment in history? She said, it feels like there isn't as much compassion. And I said, really? She said, yes. We need to call in more compassion than we ever have. And that's going to take elevating, it's going to take rising up in love, with love, for love, rising up from a higher place. This is where the goggles come in. So now just look around and imagine, like, we can really be like kids right now. Go back to our very young selves and look around this room. Pretend you have never seen anything, you've never been in here before, and you are seeing it almost, it's technicolor. And look around at yourselves. Just look around at yourselves. You come here every Wednesday, but you've never seen that person before. Not in this way, not from this place of holiness, not from this place of divinity. So these are your glasses. And these are actually your party favor from me to you. You can take these tonight. So if you're ever like in the car and you're driving and you're getting angry, you put on your holy frames. You just put them right on. There you go. Remembering radical compassion. And you can take them off, or you can keep them on if you'd like, whichever. We must remember this. We're living at a time where we are being called to rise up. Do you remember that movie, The Matrix? So Neo was about, he took this pill and he woke up and his consciousness rose. This is what we need to do. And I realize, again, if you're coming here, you're up there. You're elevated. But make no mistake about it, it is a constant process, isn't it? I mean, there's always a blind spot. There's always something like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that, or I can't believe I wrote that, or I can't believe fill in the blank. This is what we need to really dig into and remember, the radical component of compassion. God goggles. Number 3. So let's go over them. Number 1 is remember who you are. Number 2 is remember who they are, who someone is to you. And number 3 is now remembering the radical compassion. So you think about it like, you got R. Okay, now, pardon me. So now the last piece, and I actually can use this. This is the beautiful part here. Okay. This is the grand finale. Engage the soul. Engage the soul. So I would like you to stand. You can, those that are able to. So make no mistake, when we are doing the good works, when we are creating this revolution of love and we are practicing, I am not saying that we are to be passive or that we are to be accommodating violence. We are to be masters, correct? So this is a fine line, because I think a lot of times people in our spiritual communities think that we are supposed to just love, 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 love. No, it's very different. This is, remember, the highest frequency. So what I'm teaching you right now is from Barbara Deming. And Barbara Deming was a historian. And this is adapted from something called the 2 hands of nonviolence. So what I'd like you to do is hold one hand out and then the other one up. And with these hands, this is what this means, my friends. This hand is saying, I do not align with any injustice. I am not agreeing to any of your bad behavior. I believe you can make a better choice than the one that you are making right now. And then this hand is outstretched saying, I see you. I hear you. We are together on this. This, so look, I'll do it one more time. This hand is saying, it's up, saying, I believe you can make a better choice than the one that you are making. I do not agree or tolerate injustice of any kind. I do not align with any form of violence that you might be speaking to or exhibiting. And then this hand is saying, I see you. I hear you. I love you. I believe that we are together. Feel this, my friends, in your body. And here's the thing, when you do this, sometimes someone might be coming towards you, and this is not, you are not here to accommodate. So you might have to put this hand a little bit more forward. And then, like I was in the bookstore with this gentleman at Barnes & Noble, then out came this hand. And I knew, we're together. Engage the soul. Engage the soul. This is the love of the revolution. This is the love of the revolution. How does this feel? Does it feel good? Flexible. And you can move back and forth. Okay, so feel free to sit down now. So we have remembering who we are, that we are made in pure love. And we have remembering who someone is to us, and that we are together no matter what, even if we don't want to be, we are together in this. And then the third, remembering radical compassion. And when we need help, we ask for the divine. We ask for that help, seeing through the eyes of God, seeing through the eyes of source, of spirit, of the goddess. And then the fourth, we engage the soul. We engage the soul. We don't accommodate. We don't need to get violent. We just, we hold steady. I don't align with this, but I see you and I love you. And that's all there is to it. This is the 4-element pathway to love, and this is a practice. This is a practice that you can do every day, every moment, and sometimes it might be really helpful in a conflict situation, but it's also helpful just as you are moving through your day. This is a teaching that I offer to you from my heart. From my heart. In closing, I would just like to further almost consecrate this time that we have all been experiencing together and say that, and in fact, I want to open it up to you. Why does a revolution of love matter now more than ever? Does anybody want to speak? Yes. The revolution of love is now. Yes. Anyone else? We need it. We need it. It's unavoidable and it's necessary. Yes. It's funny. The now, there's a thing that we say all the time at the end of every service. The time is now. This is the revolution. Before I close, and I'd like us to say that before I close, but I just would like to add to that, that this does matter so much because our children are counting on us. You know, our children and our children's children, these generations, they're waiting. And our ancestors are smiling down upon us, saying, come on now, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's create this. Now is the time. And so as we have been cooking together in the last however many minutes, I hope that this has truly been a blessing for you. I truly hope that this has been something that has just reminded you of what is true and of what is real. Because this is our holy destiny. This is all of our prophetic work in the world. We are visionaries. We are manifestors. We are creators. And if not us, then who? If not now, then when? Yes? Yes. So let's say that together, shall we? The time is now part. 1, 2, and 3. The time is now. This is the revolution. Thank you so much, my friends. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful to be here with all of you. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.